What's going on, guys? My name is Greg. This video is going to tackle two concepts at once. We're going to talk about diction questions on the ACT and idiom questions on the ACT. So let's dive into this content and get this bread. The first thing is, what is a diction question? And diction is a word that means word choice. And these diction questions are effectively the vocabulary type questions. This would be an example of a diction question. And I can recognize that because I basically just have 1, 2, 3, 4 different vocab words that I need to choose between. Now, on these types of questions, it says here, the new technology allowed the water treatment plant to clean water from the stream. And I want to say, well, do I want to clean water, or do I want to sanitize water, or do I want to remove water, or do I want to purify water? And on a diction question, we're just trying to pick the best word for that context. And while I could maybe understand you if you said you were cleaning the water, or understand what you meant if you were sanitizing the water, the best word to use in this context would be the word purify. At a treatment plant, you purify water. That's the word that we use when we're trying to make water better. So because of that, the answer to this question would be D. And that's the entire concept on a diction question. We're just trying to pick the right vocab word for that context. One hint I want you to know about vocab questions: when all 4 answers are vocabulary words, just kind of like what we have right here, that's your hint that you're working with a diction question, and again, you just want to pick the right word for that context. So now that we've talked about diction questions, what's an idiom question? Now, idioms aren't the fun idioms like we have in school. So in school, you might have heard the phrase like, the cat's out of the bag, or I'm in a pickle. And those are kind of the fun, colorful idioms. On the ACT, idioms are really just the pairing of words in the English language. So they aren't those fun, flowery examples. They're more about pairing the right article with the right types of words. And I'm going to show you some examples of that right now so you kind of understand what I'm saying. So out of those examples, let's take a look at this. Would I say you're capable of improving your ACT score, or capable to improving your ACT score? Well, it would be capable of. That's just the way we say that in English. So that is an example of an idiom. I say capable of, not capable to. That is the proper word pairing. Let's take a look at another one. Would I say something's inconsistent to my values or inconsistent with my values? I would say inconsistent with my values. So that is the right form we do when we say something's inconsistent. We say it's inconsistent with something else. That's the idiom there. Here's a couple more. Would I say I turn in homework or I turn on homework? Well, yeah, we'd say we turn in homework in that context. So that would be the better form. So what do we do on these idiom questions? Well, when we have 4 answers that have these little kind of articles. Notice how in these questions I had like of and to and in and on. When I see these kind of little article words in all the answers, I start to think, ooh, does one of these have to pair with another word to create one of these idiom word pairings? So this is definitely the type of concept. This and diction are the ones you just want to practice to get used to. And we're going to give you lots of opportunities to practice these types of concepts in the practice questions for this video and the bonus practice question video. So that's really all there is to teach about diction and idioms. So let's just talk about the strategy for both of those types of questions real quick. On a diction question, how do you identify it? Just like I mentioned, you're going to see 4 different vocab words in the answers. That's a hint you're working on a diction question. And you just simply put, want to pick the best word for that context. For idiom-based questions, how do you identify those? Well, you're going to see 4 answers that have these kind of article-style words of, on, at, in, with. And when you see that, you got to think to yourself, what is the word that I'm supposed to be pairing the article with? And then at that point, you kind of want to sound out which pair would be right. Just kind of like we were like, oh, I'd say capable of, not capable to. We just kind of got to sound that out and be like, where have I heard that before? And what's the right way to pair these particular words? So those are the strategies. Basically, recognize the type of question that you're working on, and then do your best to pick the right word or article for that context. Look at that. You've learned diction and idioms, at least as best as you can, for the ACT English section. Obviously, these are the type of questions we're going to want to practice to get better at. Now, before we jump into those practice questions, I do, as always, have a question of the day for you. Since diction is about word choice, I just want to know, what is your favorite word? Let me know down in the comments section. Here's the first practice question. Go ahead and pause me, try it out, and unpause me when you're ready. All right, so on this question here, we are picking an adjective to describe the reports that the Perseverance rover makes about the structure of Mars. Now, we just want to pick the right word for this context. I wouldn't describe reports as being luxurious. I wouldn't describe reports as being fancy, and ornate is another word for fancy or detailed, and that doesn't quite fit there. The best answer we want here is D. We just want detailed reports about the geologic structure of the subsurface of Mars. That's the best word to use to describe these reports. Here's question number 2. Go ahead and pause me and try it out. All right, so question number 2 is an idiom question, and I would hope that you'd recognize that because I have kind of these 4 different article-style words as the answers. And when I see these 4 little articles, that's a hint it's an idiom question. So now that I've recognized that, what am I supposed to do? Well, I'm supposed to find the word that pairs with that idiom. And in this sentence, the word that pairs with it is the word compare. Now, I want to ask myself, would I compare something as something? Would I compare something on something, compare something to something, or compare something like something? And in that context, I do compare something to something else. So that is the best word to pair with compare. And for that reason, my best answer is C. That was the idiom I compare to something. Here's question number 3. Pause me and try it out. So this is another diction question themed around Prince Harry and his move away from the UK. I follow the royals, so I find this stuff interesting. Anyway, it says Prince Harry has encountered new opportunities by signing contracts for the podcast and the series. Well, this is a diction question. I want to know what I would use to describe these new opportunities. Did he encounter those new opportunities? Did he pursue those new opportunities? Did he claim those new opportunities? Did he conjure those new opportunities? Again, I could find ways to think like maybe all of these could kind of work there, but we're trying to pick the best answer for this context. So looking at those one at a time, I wouldn't go with encountered. Encountered is kind of like you found something by surprise. And it wasn't like he found these opportunities by surprise. They kind of sought them out. B says pursued those new opportunities. That's going to be my best answer. I do pursue opportunities. That's the phrase, the word I would use there. We're not like he claimed the opportunities. It weren't like they were just there to be claimed, just not quite the best word. And then conjured. Well, it's fun to manifest things. You don't conjure an opportunity. You pursue an opportunity. The best answer here would be B. Last practice question in this video. Go ahead and pause me, try it out, and unpause me when you're ready. So this question has 2 different idioms that we have to pay attention to. So let's start with the first one. The first thing, we see the in, to, in, and by over here, and I'm like, oh, what does that have to pair with? I see those little articles. What word are those pairing with? And in this context, they're pairing with the word approach. So would I have approach, an approach in something, an approach to something, an approach in something, or an approach by something? And yeah, I would have an approach to something. So that's the first thing I want to do there. And right there alone, that leaves us, that kind of crosses off all the other answers and leaves us with answer B. But let's just look at the other idiom too, just for fun. So in the second half, it talks about the construction. So then it says construction at, of, at, and on. And I'm like, well, which one would I have there? I wouldn't have construction at something. I wouldn't have construction on something. I would have the construction of something. So again, we're all confirmed the answer here is B. 2 idioms in this one, an approach to something and the construction of something were tested here.